Stay in community. Edumakesi in the Kwabre East constituency of the Ashanti region have welcomed the construction of the first ever modern market in the area. Speaking during the launch of the project, MP for Kwabre East, Francisca Oting-Mensah, said the structure will be built KETSI 1 Million One Constituency Program. JoyNews' Mohammed Nuruddin has more.
As old as I am, I have to carry my goods everywhere in the vicinity. The market will ease my burden when I secure a table to draw the attention of customers. We are pleading with the authority not to relent in their quest to construct the market for us to conduct business. Some years ago, we used to sell our goods in a market beside the palace, but now we don't have a market, so individuals just place their goods anyhow in an open space.
Residents of Wadie Ajumankasi have commended the government for considering the plight of traders, especially women who have been selling their goods in unconducive environment or many times have to walk from door to door canvassing for customers.
The construction of the market will bring a lot of benefits to the community. Traders can bring variety of goods, which will offer customers option and easy access to their needs.
An acre of land has been released for the construction of the ultra-modern market. Member of Parliament for Kwabre East constituency, Francisca Oting-Mensah, expresses optimism the contractors will build an all-inclusive market by taking into consideration the plight of other residents.
We are looking at a capacity whereby we can, if you consider the shops and then the other open spaces, we are considering maybe getting about 200 to 300 people a space. But if you look at the land size that has been given to us by the chief and the people, it's a very big land. I think an acre, which per what the chief was saying, it's likely that we can even get more of the space for maybe lorry station or other things, so that this place can be busy. So we are looking at about 300 people, benefiting from this facility.
She says the market is part of long-term planning of providing conducive environment for residents to economically empower themselves.
In the community.
Now, Ghana is nearing effective containment of COVID-19 as latest data supplied by the Ghana Health Service reveals a significant reduction in active cases and new infections. In its latest update, the service says active cases have dropped below the 1,000 mark to 856, the lowest in months. Head of our health desk, Chris Smith, has more.
The data reveals 4 new deaths, bringing the death toll to 280. But there is some good news about the country's battle with SARS-CoV-2. Positivity rate dropped from 65% at the start of August to 10% on September 1, signaling the country's strategy may be working. Only 55 positive cases were reported from the labs in the last update, one of the lowest recorded in many weeks. But it takes Ghana's case count to 44,713. Of this number, as many as 97.5% of patients have recovered. So far, 4 of the 16 regions are without any active case, whilst others are reporting single or double-digit figures. Only 3 regions, Greater Accra, Central and Ashanti, have active cases above 100. It may still not be time to rejoice yet, as further easing of the restrictions could trigger a second wave. The reopening of the country's international airports and the possible start of political rallies all point to risks requiring significant attention.
You heard the head of our health desk, Fred Smith. Dr. Yabidiako is an immunologist with the West African Center for Cell Biology of Infectious Pathogens, and he joins us. Doc, a good sign or not? Should we be excited already?
Good morning, Bernice.
Good morning.
Yes, I think we should be. I think even like in the story, the presenter said we can't over celebrate right now, but we can at least be cautiously optimistic that things are at least appearing not to get worse. The drop, I always, whenever asked about this, I always say, drop in case count on its own can be a bit misleading because this virus is only detected if you test. And I think you will find that in addition to the number of positive cases dropping, the number of tests has also been lower. So we are not testing as much as we were before. Now, that may be because, I know the Ghana Health Service modified its testing strategy from early on doing mass contact tracing, mass testing, to more targeted testing of specific of people who were sort of considered to be suspected cases. So the fewer tests may represent the fact that there are fewer people presenting with obvious symptoms, and so we are testing fewer people. But this does not necessarily mean, obviously, that the virus is still not spreading within the community. As we've already established, a large number of the populace are asymptomatically, of the infected individuals are asymptomatically infected. So I think the test positivity rate dropping is a promising sign, demonstrating that of the tests we are doing, a lower number are positive than before. However, the test positivity rate is still higher than what we would like. So of the people we are testing, we are still getting more than 5% to be positive, which I believe would still put us in a situation where we have to be very, very cautious. Now, of course, as we continue to ease restrictions, there will be some concern about whether or not we will see a second wave. And also, as the virus, currently the virus has been concentrated in our urban areas. There is the concern, obviously, that as it spreads, will we begin to see greater cases in
the rural areas?
Areas, yes.
Doc, there is a very interesting twist to this whole COVID situation in relation to the African context. And there was an article published by BBC that caused some bit of uproar on social media. And that article was trying to use the poverty situation in Africa to either explain or not why we seem to have fewer cases of COVID in Africa and fewer deaths as compared to other parts of the world. And obviously, as against the prediction or expectation of even renowned scientists across the world. What exactly, from your point of view, let's contextualize it, let's bring it home to Ghana. Do we know for sure why the numbers are dropping? Aside from not testing less, there have been rumors about immunity and a lot of people developing herd immunity in Ghana. Can you just touch a bit on that?
So yes, I saw this article in the BBC. I think it makes some interesting points. I think they got into trouble because they painted the issue as well, almost as if poverty is a positive thing in this case. But yes, there is evidence that Africa has reported lower numbers of cases. I think we have, in terms of the number of cases, I am of the opinion that a large amount of that is actually due to the fact that Africa has not tested anywhere near as much as other places. So in terms of raw numbers of cases reported, Africa is very low. That probably reflects a lack of a capacity to test. Ghana has been one of the leaders in Africa, but even in Ghana, our capacity to test is not on par with, developed countries in Europe and North America. Having said that, certainly it would appear as though the case fatality rates in Africa are much lower. Ghana, we are around 0.5%. You contrast that with the United Kingdom, which is around 12%, the US, which is around 3%. Ghana and indeed much of Africa are doing very well. Now, some would argue that even that could be a factor of testing. So people may be dying, but we don't test them, so we don't ascribe their death to COVID. There is certainly a possibility of that, but I believe that if we were seeing 12% fatality rates due to COVID, there would be many more people dying in hospitals, and so we would have seen that just increase in deaths across the country. So certainly it appears as though Africa has not suffered the same fatality. Now that in this article you reference, they do mention the age, the difference in age. So Africa has a very young population. The average age in Africa is 19. So age is a significant risk factor when it comes to death from COVID. Countries with older populations have seen more deaths. So I believe the age factor has played into to our benefit. But then also there is possibility, yes, of exposure to other infections may have primed or tolerized our immune system to a certain point to make us less susceptible. But I would caution that we are still exploring these questions. I don't think it's going to be a simple answer. I suspect there will be multiple factors that each have contributed to the fact that Africa has lower death. Now, you asked about immunity. Are we seeing immunity now? Actually, in terms of immunity, that might reflect that we've had more transmission than we know of. So a paper just came out from Kenya where they predict that in Nairobi, for instance, they think they have about 40% exposure to the virus. And so they think they are beginning to approach certain amounts of herd immunity in pockets around the country. And I wouldn't be surprised if that would be similar in Ghana. So as I said, even though our testing suggests, low double-digit numbers of exposed people, if you actually went out to do an epidemiological survey looking at serology, as we have actually begun to do at the University of Ghana, our initial results are demonstrating that there's actually much higher levels of exposure to COVID, to SARS-CoV-2 in Ghana than would be expected. We are getting, in some parts of Accra, we are seeing rates close to 30%, which would fit with this Kenyan story. We've just been fortunate that all these people, majority of them have been asymptomatic. And so perhaps because of the crowding, because of the easy transmission that occurs in certain parts of our urban areas, we've actually managed to achieve higher levels of exposure, which has then led to a certain amount of immunity, which may be responsible for the declines we are beginning to see. The question we have, though, is will this immunity persist? And as the virus moves into areas that have not yet been as exposed, will we see increases in cases in these sort of more interior areas?
Situation, like you say, the virus is dynamic. We're still learning about it. We're still understanding. I remember when New Zealand declared COVID-free, and within a day or two, there were reports of 14 people contracting the virus. So good news for Ghana. We're falling below the 1,000 mark. But what should we be doing so that we can at least maintain the figures we are hopefully on a downward trend?
I think we have to stay vigilant. As you said, there are a number of countries that thought they had won the battle only to relax and find that they have more cases. I think even South Korea, that has been lauded for their approach, has had to close their schools again because they saw outbreaks. So just when you think you've got a handle on COVID, it can rear its head again. So I think we have to maintain a high degree of vigilance. This is the time, as I've said before, if indeed our cases are dropping, this is the time to actually keep our foot on the pedal to try to drop the virus below even detectable levels. So we need to ramp up our adherence to the protocols. It's very disturbing, as the president himself has discussed in his last address, that adherence to the protocols has declined in Ghana. People are not wearing masks as much as they were. I believe even sales of hand sanitizer have dropped compared to before. So there is a sense of certain laxity or complacency that I believe is creeping in, and we could pay a heavy price for that. So I believe this is the time for us to be extra vigilant, to be cautiously optimistic, but to keep the protocols in mind. And especially as our international airport is open and people are coming in, yes, there are controls in place to try to stem the tide of any new introductions, but no method is foolproof. And I think we have to realize that in itself creates a certain level of added risk that we have to keep in mind.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. I appreciate it. Dr. Yabediako is an immunologist with the West Africa Center for Cell Biology and Infectious Pathogens. And we've been talking about recent figures from the Ghana Health Service indicated that our active case count for COVID is below 1,000. Some good news, as many will want to believe. Now, away from that, President Akufo-Addo has assured Nigerian traders of their safety and protection in Ghana as the two countries set in motion processes to address the retail trade impasse. Ghana Investment Promotion Law 865 lays out activities foreigners are barred from investing or participating in. But enforcement of that law continues to be a mirage. Now, Nigerians undertaking retail business against our laws have had their shops locked up. Now, at a meeting between the Nigerian delegation led by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Olufemi Gbajabiamila, they wanted Ghana to amend our laws.
To make sure that this relationship remains the relationship it used to be and still is, that we must do. Nigeria, Africa, you cannot talk about Africa without talking about Nigeria, neither can you talk about Africa without talking about Ghana. And it's that strength, that combination of strength that we seek to protect. Not just for today, but for tomorrow and for the future moving forward. We've appealed to Parliament that if it's possible at all, and it's an appeal, if it's possible at all, to please look again at the issues as far as the Ghana Investment Promotion Center Act is concerned, that they should please do so. If it is not possible, then let us look at ways where the pain can be a little bit reduced, or the difficulties in meeting those expectations as espoused in the law can be reduced. Now, we've proffered suggestions which we are working on, one of which he did mention was the establishment of a Ghana-Nigeria Business Council backed by legislation on both sides. And that affords, we think, us to have something coded or a statute form to guide our relationship in terms of business.
Now, President Akufo-Addo assured the proposals will be considered in the best interest of Ghana and ECOWAS. He also said Ghana will ensure the protection of Nigerians in the country. But speaking on the AM show, Clement Boateng of the Ghana Union of Traders Association cautioned government against attempting to amend the local trade laws to appease their Nigerian counterparts.
We don't have any problem about that. But what we want the authorities to understand, that since Guta is a major stakeholder in this industry, whatever process, that will be taken, leading to the formation of this business council, Guta must be involved because we are a major stakeholder. Our input, must be known to them for them to address it and then see that at the end of the day, we will not be at a disadvantage. And regarding, the proposal that they have put with the amendment of the GIPC Act, we want to sound a clear warning to the authorities that we shouldn't wake up one day for us to hear that that law has been amended in favor of the Nigerians. When that happens, we are not going to take it kindly.
You mean the GIPC Act?
The GIPC Act, yes.
You don't want it amended?
Amended in what way? Amended in what way? Because when this law was promulgated in 1994, in 2013, there was a review. Guta was a major stakeholder in that review. We had to spend 3 days at Forester Hotel in Dodowa before that review came. We were a major stakeholder in contributing to the review of that law in 2013. So if the Nigerians have asked our authorities to see to the amendment of the section of that law, we want to tell them that they shouldn't amend any law in our isolation. We should be called to a stakeholder engagement, take our inputs. If we think the direction that they are going is in favor for us, fine. But if we think it is not in favor for us, then we will raise red flags.
Well, economists with the University of Ghana Business School advised the two countries to resolve their differences with the concerns of their citizens in mind.
Nigerians are in an environment and they are coming in with products that Ghanaians are not possibly capable of bringing into our environment. Then obviously, they come to build up, one side of the economy which is more or less weak. And in the end, we'll have a fruitful relationship, as far as our, trading environment is concerned. But a situation where they are in here and they are also importing exactly the same product that Ghanaians, are also importing, then we're going to have a problem. So before, we allow them to trade on the market, we could have, indicated the kind of products they can trade on our market, okay? And you should understand the market in Ghana is in such a way that, product goes through different hands before it even gets to the consumer. By the time you realize going on the ground, you could see that the Nigerians are having even Ghanaians who are fronting for them in a way. So, before we go into such, agreement, we should be able to be detailed enough. You can have that agreement that will say that, okay, fine, we have a treaty with Nigeria like the current intercontinental free trade agreement that we've had across Africa. But then there were no specificities.
Well, joining the show now is Isaac Hubert Arthur. He's Executive Director for the African Center for International Trade and Development. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir. So we've heard from GUTA. They say they do not want any consideration of amendment of the GIPC law. We just heard also from the economist of the University of Ghana. He thinks that maybe, probably determining what kind of goods or services Nigerians can engage themselves in can also, help the issue. What's your take on this?
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers. What we must understand is that, sometimes when you have situations like this, happen in a country, we forget about a whole lot. I understand the interest from the local constituents, how, local businesses feel, and all of that. But one thing we have to understand is, as a country, we do not exist in isolation. Ghana has signed up to a number of, treaties and trade laws, and we must make sure that we are very much compliant to most of these agreements. One of them is the WTO law, which has a special clause known the MFN, the Most Favored Nation clause, which is simply about non-discrimination of all member countries that have signed on to the WTO. So there's also a subsection that talks about national treatment. You can't just stand up and then treat goods or products from your businesses, different from that of another country. There's a special arrangements that have been put in place for that. So I understand from economic perspectives, I understand from political economies side of it, where of course the local businesses will want to push for their own interest and all of that. But as we take these steps, I think we need to be mindful of, the multilateral trade agreements, even the continental, free trade area, which we are, waiting to operationalize come January 2021. So, just to say that, but looking at, for me, I think it's a wonderful thing that is happening in terms of looking at what the Speaker of Parliament, from from Nigeria, House of Representatives, coming to Ghana to meet with the Ghanaian counterparts. To have this conversation, I think it's a step in the right direction. It's a way to use political means to resolve the issue that is at stake. It's long overdue, unfortunately, we have to wait till now to have this conversation between the two political, governments. But it's a great step in the right direction. And what for me, it shouldn't just be a meeting and then proposals have been made. The most important thing is to continue to engage further and then make sure that the various recommendations or suggestions that have come up will be taken by both parties, and then they should implement them. As to whether we have to amend GIPC law, I don't think. I mean, if you look at under the tenets of economic diplomacy, you don't necessarily have to amend your country's law to favor a particular country. That is still discrimination. You are discriminating against other trading partners because there are other countries within ECOWAS, within Africa, and then even the globe that you are trading with. So if you amend your law specifically to favor one country, that is discrimination, and it's not compliant with the WTO law. So we need to be very careful about that. I know we enjoy special privileges, yes, under the WTO, where we call special and differential treatment because we are a developing country. So we enjoy certain level of protection. But still, we need to be very careful in order not to step on their toes. Trying to please one country, we might end up causing injury to other goods coming from other countries. So we need to be very careful on that.
All right,
but I think if it's called for amending the law, it has to be amended in a way that will favor all trading partners, all other trading countries that do business.
Okay, Ms. Arthur, so let me just chip this in. So there is an existing law, and it appears that it's difficult to get the Nigerians to adhere to the law, and that's why we've had this issue with closing up shops and all. Now, the Nigerians say, amend the laws. We want, you to help us in that regard. Now, Guta says, we don't want you to amend the law. So what do we do now?
You see, for what the conversation that we need to have, for me, is amending the law could be one option, but for me, as to whether it is the right option in terms of remaining compliant to most, regional and continental or even multilateral agreement we have signed, is another issue we need to look into. But I think the idea of setting up the Nigeria-Ghana Business Council is a very great one, because in other jurisdictions, one of the ways to resolve trade impasse, between countries has been by setting up this business council, which addresses most of these political economy issues. So let's look more into that. But if you take the step of amending the law to favor just one country, because let's also take note, we are not only trading with Nigerians. Nigerians, I understand, Nigeria is one of Ghana's major trading partners, even in Africa. Okay, so I understand the speciality, that we want to attach to dealing with them. But I think that let's use other means, because the law is a law, and the law stands for everybody. There are Ivorian business people in Ghana, there are Togolese business people in Ghana, there are Burkinabe business people in Ghana. There are so many other countries that are in Ghana and who are doing business. So why are we not having problems with other nationals and we're having problems with Nigerians? We need to be careful. I understand we have to tread cautiously. We have to, make sure that we come up with a solution that favors our trade relationship with Nigeria. But let's also be mindful of others.
Okay.
So the Business Council is a great idea where the two countries come together to come up with clear guidelines, clear, rules, what are the specific objectives that will favor both countries, and then they can begin to resolve some of these issues.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. Isaac Hubert Arthur is Executive Director for the African Center for International Trade, and we've been talking about the latest development in the Ghana-Nigeria retail trade impasse. If you're not aware, the President and the Speaker of House of Representatives in Nigeria met to discuss the way forward.
Now, some players in the tourism and travel and tour industry are beaming with confidence that the sector will rebound. This follows the opening of the Kotoka International Airport to international travels and arrivals. They tell Joy Business, though activities have been very slow in the last 4 months, business would pick up, particularly in the last quarter of this year, running into the next year. One such is CEO of Munta Travel and Tours, Radia Adamusani.
Business would start slowly and gradually it would escalate. The reason is that potential passengers, or let me say prospects, have actually started contacting us about fares to check tickets for them and all that. But this is a very difficult moment where you actually need to profile your passengers. In the first place, the fact that Ghana airport is opened or our borders are open does not mean that every country is opened. And when you look at travels, it takes 2 airports to make a travel. Your departure airport and your destination airport. And so there are some people that have just heard the airport is open and they just instantly want to travel to certain destinations which they have no idea whether the airport there is open or not. And so when people contact us, we first ask them where you want to travel to, is the airport opened? You have to draw their attention to that, because if you sell tickets to them and they are unable to go, right now it's very difficult to go through refund processes with the airlines. And so we are very careful with those kind of options. And secondly, most airports that are actually open now in certain countries have certain restrictions. They don't allow every nationals into their country. And we're also hoping that Ghana government could have actually employed that method, just like the way he is actually restricting, easing the restriction on education slowly. We expected that on the aviation and travel industry, that would have been done as well.
In other news, the Ghana Statistical Service has set the second quarter of next year to conduct the much-anticipated national census. The census is expected to capture an estimated population of about 30 million Ghanaians. Joy Business's Fedu engaged the Director of Census and Survey, Abnao Seakoto, and has more in this report.
The Director of Census and Survey at the Ghana Statistical Service says her outfit is getting ready to conduct the population and housing census in the first quarter of next year.
Yes, it is going to come on for sure, but not necessarily this 2020 because of COVID-19. So we are planning that it comes off in 2021, God willing. And our preparations are all towards 2021.
2021, which month specifically are we looking at?
Hopefully the second quarter of 2021. But we need the steering committee to affirm the date.
She indicated that online recruitment is currently ongoing and graduates across the country should take advantage and apply. The Director of Census also said the service is hoping to recruit over 75,000 enumerators to work on the field.
We opened our recruitment platform. It's an online recruitment platform. This was opened earlier in the year, around February 2020. This was basically opened for the enumerators and supervisors. We would require trainers at different levels. We were budgeted for, the government has made provision, but the COVID has come up with its attendant problems, and we need to revise our budget.
Are we looking at a downward revision, or is it going to go up?
The revision will go up because now we have to observe all the COVID protocols. We need to look at having sanitizers.
The state agency is hopeful of meeting its target of counting 30 million citizens with the deployment of technology in this activity. Fred Duho reporting for Joy Business.
That's business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Sports is up next.